Howdy folks, just played a big strand of fill-in licks, kind of JD Crowe style fill-in licks. I would normally not play quite that many at one time, but there are some places where you've got a couple of measures of space to fill in and you're just kind of hanging out in the key of G, and that's where some of these types of licks really shine. I love JD's playing on vocal tunes where you've got that amount of space on more medium tempo songs like The Old Home Place or Gonna Settle Down or Little Bessie. It really has got some pretty dynamic fill-in licks. I want to show you these over the next few weeks, one at a time, show you some variations, show you where they can go, and then as the weeks go by, start to put them together to create a little bit of a longer musical phrase. But by themselves, they're pretty much one measure fill-in licks, and they can replace any other one measure fill-in lick in the key of G you usually do. Right, the most famous is the basic Scruggs lick, which I'm assuming that you know, and you'll hear me play it, but I won't do the 2 to 3 or 2 to 4 slide. I've watched JD so much, he does a hammer on, 2 to 3 hammer on. You kind of push up on the string a little bit. Whoops, not pull off. Okay, and Russell Carson has a really good instructional video where he kind of shows how he does it, and he can do it a lot better than I can. So you might want to check that out if you're interested, but the slide will work just as well. All right, so the first lick I want to show you this week is, sounds like this. Okay, and it's really neat lick, and you hear it a lot. It's kind of interesting as your banjo ears develop. Once you figure out a lick, you start to hear it in other places. But this one took me a couple years to figure out. The main reason is because it's got kind of the same idea you hear in a lot of melodic licks, is because you're playing the second string at the 5th fret, and then followed immediately by the first string open. And so you're playing a note that sounds higher on a lower string. And my brain just couldn't comprehend what was going on. Okay, and actually it took me taking a song that I learned, Sourwood Mountain, and it's got kind of the same idea in it, that same position. That part at the end. Okay, and then kind of I was able to piece it together and figure it out. So I've got the tab for you. I hesitated to do tab on these because they're so short. We can figure it out without it, but I'm also going to do some variations where I change one note and come up with a totally different sounding lick, at least to me. And also we're going to be doing so many of these over the course of a few weeks. So here it is. Most of these licks kind of start on the second beat of the measure. Whatever you're doing, you're coming out of it, you go back to G, so you've got that G note that lasts for one beat, and then you come in with the new lick here. It's kind of the pause, and then you pow. You kind of go through and do this dynamic lick. So it's 5, 2, 1. Okay, notice you've got the 5th fret on the 2nd string, so 5, 2, 1, and then you go directly into the backwards part. So 5, 2, 1, 2, 3. You do a little pull off, and then you've got this optional note here, the little grace note of the 1st string open, and then you end at the beginning of the next measure with the open G, which is the 3rd string open. All right, ba da 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 da. Okay, so that should be enough to figure that out. So here it is a couple of times. Okay, and it'll replace any one measure fill-in lick. So let me show you a place where that could go really easily. Would be in 9-pound hammers. If you're singing it right in between the verse and the chorus, you've got one measure fill-in lick. So you could do something else that you already know. But over the next week, I would say work on these new licks and see how many places you really like the way it sounds, and you kind of get used to playing it. So let's see. I'm a 9-pound hammer. It's a little too heavy for my size. For my size. Roll on, buddy. So it sounds really nice. Okay, sounds really nice there, and it'll just replace the traditional Scruggs lick, which is probably what you play. Many of you, 9-pound hammer is a little too heavy for my size, for my size. Roll on, buddy. Okay, so it works really nice. And now here's the interesting thing to me is just changing one note and it sounds totally different. Okay, so let's do the easy one first. Well, they're both easy, but so here it was originally. And now we're going to take out that second string, the 5th fret of the 2nd string. We're just going to leave it open. Okay, so now we're going to have just a quarter note. So pop, ba da da da. Okay, and it's going to sound totally different. So instead of, sounds kind of melodic in a way. It's about as melodic as I get. So now we're going to have, okay, I'm an unbound hammer. It's a little too heavy for my size. For my size. Roll on, buddy. Okay, and you probably have heard that lick as well. So that one's really good to play for backup, little fill-in licks. It also helps if you're trying to do like me. I've been working on singing and playing at the same time. You can put that one in pretty well. And it kind of breaks up the da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da of your 8th notes. So it's got a little extra space, a little more room to breathe, which I like. All right, now, if you're playing one that's a little more bluesy, okay, we go back to the original. And here's the original all the way through. Forget about the X. We're going to change the first note of it. Instead of going 5, 2, 1, we're actually going to play the 1st string at the 3rd fret. And it's going to sound a lot more bluesy. It also kind of changes the way you have to play the first part, because instead of thumb, index, middle, now it's middle, index, middle, index. It's got a lot of middle stuff going on. But the rest of it works the exact same way. Listen to the difference. So here it is originally. Here it is the new way. A lot more tension to that because of the blues note, kind of a 7th note that you got going on that. And 9 Pound Hammer is a great song because you can work in a little bit of blues or you can stay more traditional. It's kind of one that can be a go-between. So I'm a 9 Pound Hammer, is a little too heavy for my size, for my size. Roll on, buddy. All right, so that's one idea, but changing a note here or there gives you a totally new lick to work in some different places. So work on those this week, and next week we'll add another lick to it and start to string them together for more than one measure that you can use to fill in. Start making some pretty cool combinations. All right, take care.